ADRs are very low though. The ADR
Yeah,
situation was bad before COVID also, so it's pretty much the same.
yeah. ADR situation is always ADR will take some time to go back to normal levels. Not
Yeah,
that easy.
especially in Dubai, it's a bad situation because of oversupply. There is too much supply is outpaced demand by a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of players, private players are also coming in.
Many yes, hotels. Every third building is a hotel over there.
I think because of the Dubai Expo, they created too many hotels, oversupply already.
Yeah,
And now
agree.
there are some startups like I know one startup. They are converting the flats into the like Dubai Airbnb kind of thing.
Correct, correct. There is one called Dreamin over
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
Then French business, French
Uh,
startup. They're doing similar to what you're describing.
hmm. Hmm. The one that I have is like B&B Me. They are bread and breakfast.
Um,
So
yeah,
they
yeah.
have nearly 100 over flats under their
Units.
inventory.
Uh,
So it's like a 100-room hotel already. They have even in
it's
Burj
yeah,
Khalifa.
just Burj Khalifa, no problem. No, they are having ultra rich customers,
Hmm.
clientele.
Hmm.
They don't care.
Yeah, that's why they have quite a lot of clients which are like ultra rich. They don't care whether there's a return or there's no return. Anyhow, that's
Yeah.
usual thing.
So no Venki today.
Venki will be a bit late, but I think we can start.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So until now, we have worked out on the and the P&L, right? Up to the P&L level that how we create the profit and loss statement and also the
Mhm.
month-end closing. So once we have finished up the P&L, then the next step is to have a bit of analysis to see whether the accounting is correct, whether the numbers make sense, or and also provide some management recommendation to the owners and to the GMs for that matter, right? So that we are going to discuss now how we normally do that, especially if the chief accountant or the FC is the ultimate person related with this kind of responsibility, right? So basically the
Mhm.
P&L analysis, as you would probably know, is you can do the P&L analysis in three different ways. One is you do the horizontal analysis, and which is basically also we call variance analysis, compared to the budget and compared to last year, where we look at the each line of the profit and loss statement and compare them with the budget and last year. Then the other aspect of the analysis is really the vertical analysis, which means we are taking expenses in relation with the revenue. So we look at if the we make a relational analysis to see how the expenses are related with the revenue as a proportion to the revenue, so that we can see if there is any mismatch. And the last one is to look at the ratio analysis. Means we are creating the relationship between the P and between the different items of P&L. For example, rooms per occupied room cost. So if we look at the gas supplies, we can compare this against the three different measures. One is we can compare the gas supply cost against the budget that we have set, against the budget against the last year that we spent. But then because gas supplies are a variable expense, it depends on the business level, right? So instead of comparing on the comparing the plain numbers against the budget and last year, we normally compare them as a vertical analysis, means as a ratio to the revenue we are earning. Now, revenue having a vertical analysis as as a percentage to revenue may make sense when your revenue when your prices are same. So in 1 month, if let's say you are selling one room, and assume that you are spending $10 per occupied room in a normal scenario for every occupied room. Now, if the room that you are selling in this month is $100, so it means you are spending 10% of the revenue as a supply cost. But if let's say next month you have a very bad business and you have to drop the rates, or it's a low season, and you are now spending only $60, so what will happen is your expenses will remain the same, because you are practically supplying the similar things. So your ratio as a percentage to revenue will increase from 10% to 10 over 60, means 15%. So now then if you just only compare against the even though on the horizontal analysis you will say, oh, $10 compared to $10 last year, we are fine, right? But when you look at the vertical analysis, you will say, oh, last year we spent 10% of the revenue, this year we are spending 15% of the revenue. That may not make sense, and then you may question. But basically you are looking at the wrong thing, or you are having a different perspective compared to what you would do in a horizontal analysis. So that's why there is a third kind of analysis where we say, okay, let's look at the relationship with the occupied rooms. Now, ratio analysis is also a ratio analysis when you are comparing the room supply cost against the revenue. But that's not the right ratio to compare, if you ask me, because the room supply cost is going to vary as per the room's occupancy, right? Not based on the revenue that you are earning, unless you have a different set of amenities for somebody who is paying $60, somebody who is paying $100. Then you can compare against the price. Otherwise you have to compare by the occupied room. So in ratio analysis, we have to really understand how we are going to analyze this expense as a ratio. So for every line, we have to have a correct denominator. So numerator, this is the expense, and denominator has to be the correct one, based on which the expense is really moving. So for example, in if you say that uh, in the internet expenses in the room. Now, internet expenses, we are spending a fixed amount. So whether you have 10 rooms occupied or you have 100 rooms occupied, your cost is going to be the same. So basically you cannot perform any kind of ratio analysis because it's a fixed expense. So ratio analysis helps only in variable expenses. Horizontal analysis is mostly useful for fixed kind of expenses, which are fixed irrespective of the volume of the business. Those expenses has to be there. So you can you can use horizontal analysis for fixed expenses, ratio and vertical analysis for kind of variable expenses or mixed variable expenses, semi variable expenses. So in the P&L, you have to if you remember the expense, the example that I show, I think we have the example which I will show you in the next, when we are discussing more details about the horizontal analysis and vertical analysis. You will be able to see how we do that, and what are these ratios are already calculated in our profit and loss in if we follow the usually format. So apart from these type of three analysis, you also have to have some other aids in revenue analysis. For example, there are some of the very commonly used aids in revenue analysis that we are having. We have market segmentation. We look at the booking source. We look at the nationality. Look at the lead period. We look at the booking pace. We look at the competitors report. For expenses, we look at the inventory. We look at the cost control reports. We look at um, the GL, and also the list of projects that we are running. So basically, you need some extra details to analyze the profit and loss statement whenever there is a discrepancy. So you have to dig down deeper into the discrepancy by looking at the external support compare for the profit and loss, because profit and loss statement consist only of the financial numbers. They don't have the quantitative numbers, right? So for quantitative numbers, and that also in very detail, has to come from the outside other reports that will be helping on the profit and loss statement analysis. So horizontal analysis basically is comparing the two periods, and you need to have a comparative P&L, whether it's comparing against the budget or it's comparing against the previous year numbers. And it's usually show the absolute change in dollars or as a percentage between the two periods. So if you see the example here, you will see there is a actual, there is a budget, and there is a variance. Now many P&L, they don't have a variance column automatically calculated. So means you have to calculate that by yourself, comparing the actual versus the budget. So for revenue, when you are comparing actual versus budget, so the formula is always actual minus the budget. So if it's negative, it means revenue is not good, right? Because it's low, it showed negative sign. For some many reports, they don't really show the negative sign. They put the numbers in red, or sometimes they just show as a down arrow, means they describe that it's a not a good unfavorable percentage or unfavorable variance. So whatever is the method, but the important is to understand whether the variance is negative, means variance is adverse, or is a positive variance. So and then you can calculate the percentage by dividing variance from the budget. Now we are comparing against the budget, that's why we will divide from the budget, not, we won't divide from the actual, because we are performing analysis on actual, not we are not analyzing the budget. If we are analyzing the budget, how is it different from the actual, then we will compare against budget minus actual, and then the variance we will divide from the actual. So whatever is the basis of analysis, that would be under denominator when we are calculating the percentage. So 36% here is the 44 million divided by 121 million. Now these numbers I have put in not in decimals, but they are in the percentage. So it's just a difference in how we present the numbers. We can show a percentage sign or we cannot show percentage sign. So it's a different preference that we may have. So this is the horizontal analysis. So we are just comparing the rooms compared to the budget, compared to the and the variance, and sometimes we also have compared to the last year, and again variance from the last year, so that we can understand, okay, what is the variance compared to last year. So this is just only a first indication that our performance is good or bad compared to last year. But if you want to know why is it, then you need to maybe dig into more deeper into the details, that okay, if room revenue is so low, what is the reason? Is it because of the occupancy? Is it because of the rates? If it's because of the rates, which segment is going down on the rate, then you need a market segmentation analysis. If it's a occupancy, then again you need to also see what segment it is, what kind of nationality is it, what are the other geographic conditions where the bookings are not coming in. So you may need to have a bit of additional reports to understand the revenue a bit in more details. So when as an analyst or as a presenter, you need to think of that by yourself already. So normally what I feel many times is that the department head or the chief accountants or the people who are analyzing, they just look at the face value of the P&L and say, okay, our revenue is lower than the last year or lower than the budget by this much, and this is a percentage. But they don't go into the details, why is it happening. So they don't give the reason why, cause. And then if they give the cause, they give only the first step. So I call it we call it like five whys. So you need to say, okay, if the room revenue is lower, why is it lower? So you may say, okay, the occupancy is lower. So you can ask why occupancy is lower. Maybe you can come up with a market segmentation, that this particular market is not performing. Then the next question is why that market is not performing. So next why is can be that there is a problem in the source country, there is a issue in the rates, or whatever is the reason. So basically you have to identify what is the problem with the source, right? So that's the important of the horizontal analysis. So you have to drill down into the deeper details. Then we conduct the vertical analysis. So vertical analysis also is commonly called as a common size analysis. Means what is the so we calculate the percentage of individual revenue items or individual expenses items to the total revenue. So we look at all into one segment. So we call it a common size, means we assume revenue is 100. So how much is the proportion of room revenue to the total revenue? How much is F&B revenue? How much is the room expenses percent compared to the uh, room revenue? How much is it compared to the total expenses, total revenue? So you can exo expenses also you can compare with the total revenue. Now in a general setting, yes, you would compare every expense to total revenue, but in the hotel P&L, normally for the departmental expenses, so room revenue will be compared against only the room revenue, not with the total revenue. F&B expenses will be compared against the F&B revenue, not with the total F&B total revenue. So that's the one way. So similar way in the same example that we saw earlier, these numbers which are 59%, 32%, 7%, and 100%, that's called the vertical analysis. So now you can see that the last year budget was 221 million. This year actual achievement is only 130 million. So they are not on the same scale. So we cannot say that if the room revenue or which of the revenue is suffering more. Both are all of them are dropping compared to their budget, but where the performance is very really bad. So when you put them against 100, right, then you can see, okay, rooms is contributing 60% of the revenue while F&B is 32% of the revenue, while our budget was F&B to have a higher revenue percentage compared to the room. So now we can say that, okay, if our budget of 90 million is not achieved, is not is because of the room revenue, yes, but the major problem is coming in the food and beverage, because even though we are able to get room business, our F&B is not there yet. So the another way to calculate this, in the if we compare to the next step also, in as a ratio analysis, we would compare food and beverage revenue per occupied room. So how much we are earning per occupied room in this year, how much we were budgeting, right? So we can compare what was the um, metrics that we could have been doing and what we are not doing at this point of time. So this is how we can also drill down into what is the cause of problems in our hotels. Then the third type of analysis that we were thinking to do is to do the ratio analysis. So it helps to measure the effectiveness of how business is operated. Means we compare the ratio analysis as a reference to some other point of the business. So whether we are comparing against the number of guests, whether we are comparing against number of occupied rooms, whether we are comparing against the number of people that we hire, or number of or the room revenue, or the total number of guests in the property. So whatever is the reference point, we are comparing against that reference of our performance so that we have a better understanding. So some examples of the ratio analysis, you can say mix of sales, average room rate, revenue per available room, average food and beverage check, average spa check, average per revenue per seat, labor cost percentage to revenue, beverage cost percentage to the beverage revenue, food cost percentage to food revenue, the seat revenue per seat, revenue per square feet, or average spa spending. So these are the normal type of ratio analysis that we do in hospitality, and these are very important in understanding, instead of looking at the absolute numbers, which may be distracting because of the variance in the scale. Ratio analysis helps to remove that problem of scale, and compare against each other, apple to apple. But usually ratio analysis is also not a absolute number. I mean, it's not an ultimate analysis, because there are again you are comparing the denominators and the nominators in a different scale. So the ratio can also be different, especially in hospitality where we have a high fixed cost. So you have to remember how we are going to analyze that. So there's an example of of the ratio analysis, where we have occupancy as a percentage, average rate, RevPAR, profit percentage, number of FTE, GOR per available room, GOP per available room. But these numbers may not make any sense in themselves. So for any kind of analysis, you need something to compare, some benchmark. So the benchmark can be your budget, Benchmark can be your last year numbers, benchmark can be the industry average, benchmark can be or any other target that we have set for ourselves. So that's the ratio analysis. The important thing for ratio analysis is that they don't resolve the numbers. Any kind of analysis, all the three type of analysis, they don't resolve the numbers. They just only indicate where there may be a problem, and you have to go deeper into the problem and find out what is the reason, and they are only a historical numbers. So sometimes let's say we are doing a quarterly analysis, your in the first month of the quarter maybe very bad, right? So it will affect the analysis of whole quarter. So it's not that it will not tell you the entire story, that you may have already recovered from your problems in the quarter in the other months of the quarter, and you have maybe already be on a stage of recovery. But since the ratio analysis and the variance analysis, and because you are comparing against the whole quarter, it may hide the problems, it may hide the actual story. So you have to be also be careful in drawing the conclusions uh, based on these ratio or based on these analysis, because they may not be telling you the 100% of the story. So you may have to go down into the what action plans has been taken, what are we having doing currently. So not only the quantitative analysis but also the qualitative analysis of the actions of the plans, so that we have a better decision making. And there is no rule of thumb that will apply to interpreting the ratio. So there is no like the ratio is bad or ratio is good. The only thing is you can compare it against the benchmarks. You say these are the benchmarks, and we are either failing or we are making a progress. And important things to remember is also that the comparison has to be done with the related numbers. So if there is a change in the accounting practice, or whether there is a change in the major market segments or the business model, then you cannot compare against your benchmarks against the last year or against the any other industry competitors. So you have to really be careful in using these analysis when there is a change in the business model, when there is a change in the standards, and also the accounting policies or the way of recording the expenses. So, for example, when we started to include the service charge into the revenue for the first time, so what happened is overnight our revenue increased by 10%. So when we were comparing against the last year, our the actual performance of the sales team was hidden, because their the revenue of this year was always 10% higher compared to the actual number, because we included the service charge, but the last year did not include the service charge, so there was always a difference, right? But if the actual performance was -5%, it would show +5%. So if we don't know that we have changed the accounting policy, we would not be adjusting. So what we did is we adjusted the numbers of last year to become similar to what we are looking at now, so that we can have a apple to apple and peer to peer comparison. And also then because of this, the GOP percentage itself was dropping. So then we also have to adjust the numbers of the last year to make them comparable to this year, so that we have a correct practice of comparison. So this is the three analysis. Any question or feedback that you have, or anything else that you want to say about these analysis?
No, it's all good. It's all converting to what I have observed. So yes, I can relate.
Okay.
All good, sir.
Okay. So usually we have seen that we have already gone through the details of this room revenue presentation, and how we do the market segmentation, right? So I will not repeat again, but the important thing for us to do is, when we are looking at the overall P&L, let's say we are reviewing the P&L for the rooms division. So what you would do is you would obviously do the room first, and when you are looking at the revenue, you are going to look at the market segment. So You will be looking at the transient rooms revenue. You are looking at the groups room revenue, and also other revenue as a separate part. So other revenue you maybe want to see as a per occupied room, especially, but you have to adjust it against the, if there's any other ad hoc business, like any group that has uh, performed anything, and the revenue is included there, in this other revenue. So you have to remove them, because otherwise your statistic is not going to be correct. When you cannot ignore the allowances, because allowances are important part of the analysis. So allowances you should see as a percentage to total revenue. How much is the allowance, whether it's increasing, whether it's decreasing. Even though many properties, they don't record allowance as a separate deduction, they just adjust it directly to the market segment, but it's a good practice to have a allowance separately. And so it's just an example of the market segmentation. We look at the variance, and then look at the percentage of the variance in the total, and then by graph, um, from the uh, from the food and beverage. So the revenue of food and beverage is, we normally, apart from the P&L numbers, we also have to look at outlet by outlet breakdown, and also by meal period. Whether the what breakfast have a better revenue, whether the lunch has a better revenue, or, and also the cover and average spending, right? So, and then the audio visual and cover, and the audio visual expenses are normally related to the banquet expenses. So you may also want to see it as a percentage to banquet revenue only, not as a overall percentage to the food revenue, because other outlets may not have this. Cover charges, again, it relates to only those particular outlets. So you want to see the percentage to the only the overall, and it may not even relate to the revenue that you are earning, because cover charges are usually not relatable to the revenue or to the number of covers that you are serving in the hotel, but they just give you a very brief idea of whether you should be having a higher cover charges or not. But overall revenue, which is more important, right? Equipment rental, usually you would see only as a percentage to the total covers that you are serving in the banquet. But also you need to be careful in whether you are recording it gross or you're recording the net margin. So as we discussed in our detailed discussion on, usually the gross recording will be done only when you are serving the rental and you are responsible for the service, and the net margin when the supplier is responsible for the service and supplier is providing the equipment rentals plus allowances. So that's again an important part of the analysis. So the apart from the revenue analysis by outlet, you also need to have it by breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then some. Usually, we also have the outside guests and in-house guests separately, so that we can understand whether the hotel is doing only in-house guests or doing some outside guests also. Plus, there is something called capture ratio. Means we also need to look at the capture of the total guests that we have in the hotel. How many of them we are able to capture for breakfast? How many of them we are able to capture for lunch? And how many of them we are able to capture for dinner? But that ratio applies only to in-house guests, not applied to the outside guests. So outside guests are absolute numbers that you just have to compare against the budget or last year numbers by meal period. Again, you need to break down by meal period, and you can break down for food and beverage separately. So then you will be able to have a detailed understanding of where the things are going wrong, and how and which meal periods you need to fix for which restaurant, right? So as we were saying, there are other operating and marketing reports that you would need for your analysis. So it can be revenue by the business source or the distribution channel. Then you need nationality report. Then you may need the booking pace. Then you may need the competitors revenue report. Then you need upselling and upgrades reports to see whether we are optimizing upselling opportunities or not. Then for food and beverage, you may need menu engineering report and the report that we just discussed on the capture ratio and the average checks, right? So very quickly, the revenue by business source is that we are covering the revenue by the source of generating the revenue for us. So it can be direct bookings, can be OTAs, can be offline travel agents, can be contracted companies, can be your own booking websites, can be your regional sales office and representation. Plus, you can also do the revenue by the geographical segment of where the guests are staying and where the guests are making the booking from, so that it's easier to understand how the business is being generated for the property. So the guest nationality is important to understand also because you want to customize your offerings. There are cultural differences on habits. So if until and unless you understand the nationality, sometimes the F&B checks are very low if you have more on Asian guests compared to the European guests. That's in we have that quite often a excuse from the F&B that the average checks are low because the guests and the Asians usually don't spend as much in the hotel as the Europeans. But then again, you have to just understand what the market needs basically. So Asians also spend in the hotel if there is a right offerings available in the hotel which are suitable to them, right? So if you have European wines only, then the Asians are not going to spend too much unless you have the Asian brands or what they like mostly. So you need to, so that helps to understand the reason for increase and decrease in the business and where to promote based on the economic and political changes that we are usually facing. And are we too much dependent on certain geographies or certain market segments? So the nationality will also help us to understand whether we are fixed towards the particular market segments or we are more on a general serving a general market. Booking lead period and the pace is just only helping you to understand how advanced the bookings are made, just to understand how when they are making the purchases, and each segment and geography may have a different lead period because of their nature and purpose of the business. I think Saf would be able to explain that in more details, right, Saf?
Yeah, if I may, yeah.
So how would you explain the pace booking lead period?
So we need to start way back from the forecast,
Hmm.
and from the forecast that is agreed with the client, and not our internal forecast as per the sales and each account. So disaggregated forecasting from a very micro level, micro sub channel level. Each client, each corporate or travel agency or maybe transient channel, whichever it is, by source or by agency, by organization, we get their forecast, all the disaggregate forecast, and then we build that master forecast, and then as per the committed forecast values, we check on a day to day basis how are we approaching it as of day of arrival. So if we pick a calendar date 20 days into the future, so as of that date, as per the commitment of all those various sources and channels of all the forecasts have, however they've aggregated, are we in are we pacing it, are we under pacing it, are we looking on track to meet it by that date,
Hmm. Hmm.
and are we at that level, so we are picking up, and by what rate is the pickup coming in,
Yeah.
and that pickup which is the materializing of the group is it consistent with the pace that is looking at the forecast committed by the client. So all
Mhm.
those internal checks, they work together. The pace will not work without the pickup report will not work without the forecast. So the forecast is the main one. So once the forecast is all set, then that can be used to look in terms of the pickup, and then the pickup will tell if the client is on pace or not, or the channel. If we are looking at we are not looking at client, if we are looking at channel, is that particular channel on pace or not on pace, is it under pacing. And then the booking lead period is like the booking window. So the pace, how long is the duration that you're measuring the pace for. So you're looking at a pace over 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, how is it, or over month. So that is the booking lead period,
Yeah.
which is booking window. And then it depends on how you're looking at it. You're looking at it as a booking window perspective, or you're looking at it from the
Mhm.
perspective in with respect to the pace.
Yeah.
So that is
Yeah.
also there are two.
Yeah. Because this reports, these two reports, why they are important in our P&L analysis is because the normally the P&L analysis we are doing only the historical. Now these are forward-looking reports. The booking lead period you can say is a historical report because it's telling us that what was the booking lead period, but it's also a forward-looking report because this is going to tell us how the booking leads are changing, where the booking leads are shortening by looking at the market segment, looking at the geography, looking at the nationality of the guest. So you can dissect the booking lead reports into much more finer way so that you can understand when the customers are making decisions to come to the property and how they are calling, how often, how early they are making the bookings. Now, these are future looking reports, both of them. The pace, as you specified, that the is comparing against the forecast to see whether we are in our pace or not, whether we are pacing correctly or not, whether we are getting our materialization as per the forecast or as per the last year also. Maybe let's say you can say if last year August we were or September we were at 20% on the books, and this year we are only at 15% on the books. So even though this number is analyzing the past but is indicating the future, so when we are looking at the P&L analysis and we are comparing the revenue of the past months, we also need to look at the future of the months, that what's happening in the coming future. Are we going to meet our forecast in the future or not? Are we going to have enough revenue in the coming months or not? And then so that we can take the action immediately. Now this report may be discussed in the P&L report, P&L meeting, or may not be discussed in detail, but this is an important thing to know when you are looking at the last month performance, to see how does the performance of future months looks like, because you don't want to make decisions only based on past. You also want to look at the future before we make any corrective decisions. So this report is mostly discussed in the revenue reports. So usually the booking pace you can compare against the for each market segment, and then compare them against the multiple booking windows, up to 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, or 30 days or more, and then you can see how we are progressing and where the most of the bookings are coming in. Then you have a competitor benchmark report, which is usually, this example is from STR, but there are other, you can do your own report manually if you're not subscribing to STR. Or I don't know if there are any other, I'm not aware of any other competitor benchmarking reports which is coming in from the other vendors. So your booking engine may be able to give you some competitor benchmarking report, but they are only from the public segment. But this STR is getting the whole hotel segment, all the segments included, the long stay, the groups, and the FITs. So basically, what this is telling is how much is the market share of the hotel compared to the other hotel. Now, why is this important in P&L analysis to look at? Because let's say the revenue is down by 50%, So you may want to look at whether the entire market is down by 50% or just only our hotel is down by 50%. So you can see here in the next the bottom part of the report where where the report is comparing a percentage change compared to the last period. So you can see here that the property, the occupancy is dropping by, your property is dropping by 15%, competition is dropping by only 11%, but RevPAR in total is similar. So means that the overall market is dropping. So is not only your hotel which is dropping, is the entire competition is dropping. So this way you may be able to defend, or at least be able to justify or explain to the board why the revenue is dropping so significantly, because the overall market is dropping. But if it's only your property which is dropping, then you have a problem. Or if it's your property is dropping or lesser compared to the competition, then it's even better for you, right? So it's also important to have a watch on on the industry space, how you are performing against the overall industry compared to the only looking at the internal only the hotel reports. Then usually you have upselling and upgrading. Upselling usually when you increase the room category by when is paid and upgrade is free. So you may also want to look at why the upgrades are there are more upgrades than upselling, and what are the reasons. So because these are revenue opportunities, especially when your ADR is low. So you may want to see, is it because of too many upgrades, or because of loss of upselling. So that's another report which sometimes helps to explain the scenarios. For F&B, usually you look at the menu engineering report. The menu engineering report basically will tell you what are the best selling items, what are the most profitable items, what are the items which are popular but they are not really profitable, and they are profitable items but may not be the popular ones. And the last one is they are not popular and not profitable. So these items, these menu engineering report usually helps to explain the differences in F&B by for the outlet, by looking at which dishes are getting changed. Basically the first explanation is obviously the number of covers, and in the number of covers, when there is a profitability change, maybe the revenue is same but the profitability is different, then you need to look at the menu engineering report to see how the selection or the of the menus by the guest is changing, whether they are whether they are there are many items which are very popular but they are very less profitable, or we are able to sell the most profitable and most popular items more. So as a percentage of the group, you will be able to judge what's happening really, whether we need to do more upselling, whether we need to increase the price, whether we need to remove out certain items which are not really making a lot of profit for us. So menu engineering report helps to understand the profitability of the restaurants, not the overall revenue, but the profitability, because we are looking at the profitability and the popularity both here. Okay, so this is an example of the menu engineering report. We will not go into detail because we have already covered that under cost control part. So then we have expenses. After you have analyzed all your um, revenue and major cost of sales, then you will come down to look at the expenses. In hotels, usually the major driver of the profits is the revenue or the labor is the revenue, because basically the labor cost is fixed most of the time, and the other type of expenses are very small compared to the total labor profitability. So the labor cost is most of the department, as we have discussed in the usually section, is divided into management and non-management. Management usually are directors, assistant directors, and managers, and the non-managements are supervisors and associates. So we won't go into the deep details here of the management and non-management, because we have already covered that section um, in our usually section. So the other, so we have covered the room service charge also and these part as well. So we are not going to go into the deeper details of it basically, but how we are going to analyze the labor cost. So the first thing you have to understand is whether your labor cost of your hotel is fixed or variable or semi-fixed. So nowadays with the changing business model due to pandemic, many of the costs are becoming variable or kind of semi-variable because now you can pay your staff based on the working days rather than a fixed salary whether you have 1% occupancy, 10% occupancy or 100% occupancy. So you have to really dig down into the deeper at which department is fixed, which department is variable and which department is semi variable. Now when the cost is going to be semi variable, the cost will be semi-variable when you have minimum staff to maintain the department, but it may increase when you have an increase in the volume. So you have a fixed cost, but there will be a variable expense as per the business is going to increase. So for example, the housekeeping cost. So you need at least one person for cleaning the room, one person for cleaning the public area, but as the rooms occupancy increase, you may need to increase your housekeeping. But let's say one housekeeper is able to clean 10 rooms. So if the occupancy is up to 10 rooms, you don't need to increase the one person. But as soon as the occupancy increase to let's say 12 rooms, you need to have another person hired, right? Otherwise, you will not be able to clean all the rooms. So the housekeeping becomes semi-variable, not a fixed cost, not a variable cost, but it's a semi-variable. So you have to understand how the labor cost is structured. If let's say some hotels are working on a credit basis, means they hire the outside company, third party companies, and they say, okay, I have 50 rooms to clean, and I will give you $2 per room for cleaning. Now you can employ 10 peoples or you can employ 2 peoples. So this is so then it can, in that case it will become a variable cost. So it depends on how the hotel has structured its expenses. Before you go into the analysis, you need to understand how they are paying and how is it incurring. Then only you will be able to explain analyze it. Then the other part of the labor cost to analyze is the productivity report. Now, what is productivity report? Means productivity report is the customers served per staff. So you can look at arrival, check-in, check-out per FN per FO staff, room cleaned per housekeeper, occupied rooms handled by the concierge, number of F&B covers handled by the F&B service associate and F&B kitchen associate, how many kilos are being washed by laundry, how many massages are done by the spa. So you have productivity reports. So when your labor cost is higher, normally you will look at the productivity. Are we able to manage the productivity of the peoples by getting the peoples to go on leave, go on unpaid leaves, or if we are hiring the casuals, whether the productivity standards are there or not. So because the labor cost is fixed, you cannot compare it against the revenue, but you can compare against the productivity level of the staff. And then you can also compare against the zero based manning. So normally like we have done exercise in our hotel where we calculate the zero base manning for different scenarios. Let's say if we have closed down the hotel, how much manning do we need? If we have one room occupied in the hotel, what department do we need and what would be the minimum manning up to that? So maybe up to 5 rooms we can survive with that manning. So that becomes our zero base. So any extra manning that we need from there, we would be asking what is the extra business or what is the extra revenue that we are going to get. This zero-based manning is essentially very important in the current business environment where we are struggling to even have a bit of occupancy. So the other expenses usually, as I said, they form very small part of the revenue and and they have very low impact on the profitability, but they also need to be managed. So basically, we analyze the other departmental cost by their nature. So whether it's variable and fixed, and then we also take help from some experiment from some expense control reports. So for example, The variable expenses are where they increase or decrease in relationship with the business, and we analyze them as a percentage to revenue or per occupied room or per cover cost or per guest. Fixed expenses, they don't change, or they change in a very small proportion as change in the revenue. And normally we analyze them as a historical basis in terms of horizontal analysis, as we explained earlier. So mostly, most of the time in variable expenses in the hotels include your food cost, your beverage cost, your guest supplies, complimentary operating supplies, cost of sales for the other operating departments, your commissions, revenue, reservation costs, incentives. Those are mostly variable. But again, it depends on the business model of the hotel. For operating supplies or for guest supplies, they can be semi-variable. Then you have fixed, then you have which are considered as normally a fixed expense, but again it can be semi-variable or variable. So labor cost is considered as fixed cost, maintenance is considered as fixed cost, entertainment is considered fixed cost. Usually marketing expenses are not fixed, but they are ad hoc. So you cannot compare them against a revenue percentage or as a percentage to the occupied room, because marketing expenses are usually not spent for the past month. Marketing expenses are always spent for the future month. So you cannot compare the marketing expenses of this month, because the revenue or the result of this month's marketing expense will be coming in the future, and which we don't know at the moment, right? So it's useless to calculate the marketing expenses or maintenance expenses compared to the current revenue percentages. But they are important to be controlled because of the cash flow requirements. So there are certain expense reports which you can use, which we can use in our analysis, which is usually the list of items that you are using in operations with the quantity. For example, like your store, the how many toothbrush we use, we can compare them against the occupied rooms or the guests in the hotel, amenities, fruits, vegetables that we are using in the hotel, operating supplies, linens, chinaware, glassware, silverware. So these are the usually there are inventory reports, consumption reports that we can use, comparing them against the previous year, similar periods, or the last period that we have, and then we compare the ratio against the consumption of occupied rooms or to the number of guests in the hotel. So that's a bit of more detailed analysis of expenses, in for understanding whether the expenses that we are spending are in line with our operations or not. Then you have usually the food cost reports, where the cost controller will analyze the food cost for each outlet, check for the breakages, imported items, and then potential cost report that we these items we discuss in our course on the cost control nature. Then you have operating equipment report. Usually, you have the chinaware, glassware, silverware, and you have other operating equipment. Means your mirrors, your irons, boards, your mini bar. Those are all small operating equipment. Alarm clocks. So usually you have to control them. Do a proper counting every quarter to see the damaged items are being charged back to the whether the provision, where if it's need to be recovered from the service charge, or if need to be charged to profit and loss, it's being charged to the profit and loss. Otherwise, usually they when you count them in a once in a year, or when the operating departments are requesting for the new items, they are charged to P&L immediately, like a big amount, right? So that's something hotels should be avoiding. Okay, so these were the mostly the individual line item that we normally analyze. So as a step, overall step. So first thing is we try to understand the overall P&L analysis to identify what are the area of concern, whether is room revenue, whether is F&B revenue, whether is the cost or labor cost, whether is the other undistributed expenses. So what are the area of concern for us to dig down deeper into the details. Once we do that, then we look at the marketing reports or other reports that for detail analysis. of the revenue, or if it's a revenue, or expenses if it's expenses. And then we look at the P&L to narrow down the expense variance. And then finally, we look at the itemized cost for unfavorable variances. So once we know what are the reasons for revenue loss and the expenses, then we go down into the supporting reports and see what are the real problems. Look at the individual line items in the GL to see which is causing the unfavorable variances. And then we normally take the plan the remedial action for those expenses. Okay, so these are just only the expenses. We are not going to go into the cost management. So this was mostly the P&L analysis. Anyone has any? Do you have any question on this?